I love vacation. Possibly one of my favorite vacations was in Mexico at this resort with Drew Brees, NFL quarterback, New Orleans Saints. I mean, he's an incredible guy. I know most people know him for what he's done on the field with the New Orleans Saints and winning Super Bowl, MVP records. But I particularly think he's amazing for what he is off the field and who he is as a dad, watching him interact with his family, and what he's done for the community of New Orleans with his Drew Brees Foundation for businesses, kids. I think the guy's amazing. And right now you might be saying, so are you like personal friends with Drew Brees? Do you have a personal relationship with him? Well, let me back up. Everything I said is absolutely true. I was on vacation and Drew Brees was there at the same resort. And yes, I did throw the football with him, but it happened to go over the head of somebody else and I tossed the football back towards him. So yes, I threw football to Drew Brees, but I don't have a personal relationship with him. Honestly, I think there's this element in our Christian faith. We wrestle with the idea of Christianity and how do we actually develop a relationship with God that's personal. And I want to give you a key to that today. I think this is going to be great for you. My name is Trent Jenkins. I'm one of the pastors here at North Coast Church, and thank you for being a part of the Daily Dose. You see, in our Christian walk, so often we measure our faith by what we know and what we do, what chapters and verses that we've memorized, what's our attendance like, how much have we served lately, or maybe we get really fanatical about something. Maybe it's a cause or the latest worship album, and we memorize all the lyrics and we go to all the concerts and we know all the people a part of that worship team. But does that make us any more in relationship with God? You see, Jesus actually says that when we ask him to become Lord and Savior of our lives, that we're adopted into the family of God in Romans chapter 8. And we get to call God Father. You see, there's this element that we are adopted into the family, but just because we're in family doesn't mean that we're in relationship. We have to pursue relationship. And Jesus shows us what that starts to look like in Matthew chapter 6 in the Sermon on the Mount when he describes to his disciples of how we should pray. And it starts with these familiar words, our Father. Of course, this is the Lord's Prayer, right? This is that example. But what we have to understand is that those two words, our Father, was like this sonic boom in the sky that was something that had never been heard before. You see, this was the first time that a Jewish rabbi had ever used the word Father in a personal address towards God. They've used all sorts of different honoring words and titles for God, Jehovah, Yahweh, so many different things. But to be able to call him Father, you didn't do that. And this was earth-shattering. You see, actually translated, it's Abba, which is much more closer to Daddy. You see, there's this personal relationship that he's inviting us into. You see, because in my relationship with my dad, I talk about many different things that I won't talk with just to an authority. We have personal and private conversations about things that matter to me. I don't necessarily do that with just an authority. And Jesus calls him Abba, Father, Dad. And he tells his disciples, this is how you should be praying to him. You see, I want to encourage you today that your prayer life should be personal. And in just a couple of verses earlier, it says that it should be private. It says this in verse 6, but when you pray, go into a room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Now, there's still a place for corporate prayer, intercessory prayer, and prayer where we're putting our hands on someone for healing, but there's also a place for personal prayer where we dive into relationship. So I just want to encourage you, set aside the distractions, set aside the cell phone, put the kids in some sort of different room and get some personal private time with your Father. Because in my relationships, I've got private time. Get into some personal private time with Jesus. Share with your heart. Share those private things that you'd only share with somebody that you're in a relationship with. Have a great day.